Now, Amy Goodman, one of the reasons you're in London at the moment is that last night, I think it was, you chaired a discussion in London with the WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange. How did that go?
Very interesting. It was a discussion between Julian Assange and the Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek. And, you know, no matter what people feel about Julian Assange, what he has founded with WikiLeaks is so significant in the world, a challenge to the gatekeepers of information. There is no question that WikiLeaks has helped to spark revolutions simply by getting information out. I mean, this trove of information from the Iraq war logs to the Afghan war logs to the U.S. government State Department cables. When you have the video being released of U.S. military opening fire on civilians in Iraq, as happened July 12th, 2007, in which two Reuters employees, Namir Noreldin, an up-and-coming videographer, and his driver Saeed Shama, were killed when a U.S. Apache helicopter opened fire on civilians below. I think when there is transparency, when we're able to see the images, people of every political persuasion all over the world say, no, war is not the answer.
Douglas Murray, you're shaking your head. Do you not agree that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks has been as significant as Amy says?
No, I don't think it's significant. I think he's a teenage basement thinker who has metastasized now into an adult with a very scary and shady set of opinions, who's now parading as some kind of freedom of speech campaigner. It's grotesque. I've never seen a figure being taken so widely at his own estimation. Who is Julian Assange to decide what the rest of the world can know? Now, people are quite right to say, why doesn't the government allow us to know the following? Why doesn't the media allow us to know the following? There are all sorts of reasons, and governments have all sorts of checks and balances, and they have certain things that they decide are worth keeping quiet. Julian Assange, however, decides that he will be the new global arbiter. He will be the person who decides what you and I and everyone else in the world can know. And, has already become clear, he doesn't know how to do it. He's a kid toying around with incredibly dangerous ideas. He steals documents, publishes them, and also, by the way, does them in an incredibly one-directional manner. Only ever America that is the real target.
Well, this is not about just one person. This is about governments keeping secret what the citizens of their countries have a right to know.
Do they have a right to know? I mean, is the unchecked flow of information potentially dangerous to civilians?
I mean, information is the oxygen of a society. The way the United States has been able to continue the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan is by keeping information from the American public. And even as they do keep that information, most people in the United States are against these wars right now. But to have the actual video images, when you see and hear the U.S. soldiers following the chain of command and opening fire on innocent civilians and reporters below, that changes minds. That can end wars.
It obviously doesn't change minds. It obviously doesn't end wars, because America is still engaged in Afghanistan and Iraq. It obviously doesn't do that job. But I go back to this question. Who are you to decide what everyone can know? Who is Julian Assange?
It's not about you.
Well, it is about Julian Assange and his followers who believe that he has the right to decide what everyone else in the world can know. And he has made mistake after mistake. And to give this man the right to treat him as if by his own values.
Well, it's not just him, though, Doug.
Amazing.
I mean, it's a whole movement, isn't it? People contributing to
yes,
the WikiLeaks.
and the question has to be asked to say, you know, in government, who guards the guardian? That is the question we always and rightly ask about government. But we should ask it about Assange. Who guards this guardian? Or who guards the guardian's guardian?
I think when you look at what happened in Tunisia, when you look at what has happened in Egypt, there is a clear connection to information getting out, and that is absolutely critical. Just ask the people of Tunisia what it meant. Ask the people of Yemen what it meant to hear about the U.S. government working with the Yemeni government in the drone attacks in Yemen. This is extremely important that we find out this information.
But as I say, I go back to this issue. The Tunisian revolution did not happen because of Julian Assange.
Not because
he is now again
one of the reasons
sorry,
why.
One at a time.
empowered
Doug.
people on the ground to rise up
You're
against
simply
the
taking him
despots.
at his own estimation. This is a man who steals documents and then publishes hundreds of thousands of documents that were meant to be kept secret, always in an effort to show America in a bad light.
Doug,
never does this about Russia, never does this about China. One-directional political anti-American campaigning by
Doug,
somebody who thinks he can do stuff he can't.
Should Julian Assange and anyone who helps him on WikiLeaks with this kind of information face trial, as some are hoping that he will?
Yes, you cannot steal secret informations from government, publish them, make money from them, and not suffer some consequence.
Okay,
you cannot
Many people
steal
would
and
say
be
that
congratulated.
this isn't the private property of despots in the world or other governments. This is the property of the people. It is the common ground. It's information that we all must know. And certainly as a journalist, I value the ability to get this information. And it's only the beginning. We need to see more of these
Well,
government cables.
unfortunately, it'll make the world more unstable. That's the reality.
This is the World Today from the BBC World Service. Still to come, more on the Wimbledon final, of course. Plus, does this sound like you?
Self-congratulatory, Guardian reading, tofu eating.
That was one of our guests, Douglas Murray, describing a certain brand of music festival goer last year. Has he changed his mind? More from Amy Goodman as well after the news. Vincent Dowd reporting from the Hop Farm Festival in Kent. And Douglas Murray, I'm sure you enjoyed that. Did I see you tapping your foot there at all?
No, I mean, it sounds like hell to me. I just find...
he was rocking out.
See, the advantages of radio. No, I just can't bear the whole thing. And there seems to me to be a generation at the moment that hasn't grown up. In fact, there's a couple of generations that haven't grown up. I just can't understand why adults, I don't just mean teenagers and young people, but I mean adults, people in their 40s and 50s, go to music festivals to hear very basic, unimpressive, repetitive music. I just don't get it. And stand
Well,
and
that's a sweeping statement. I mean, some of the bands that play in festivals are very complex, excellent musicians,
I
surely.
disagree. I find the whole phenomenon of pop music going round and round in circles, repeating itself, which is what it's done. It has no musical development, no capacity to do so. It's a completely insular, self-pitying, self-aggrandizing cult.
Right. Amy Goodman, I sense we need some balance
I
here.
say music, not bombs. And as for
You can
Douglas's...
have both, of course. I mean, you can actually have a foreign policy and enjoy music. I do.
I don't equate foreign policy with war, but also on your previous comment about tofu. Tofu is a delicious thing, and it's really good not to wreck the rainforests with the level of acres it needs to support one cow. Let's just use the grain and get our protein
Once
in a
again, one
different
can
way.
have rainforests and also not eat tofu. This also is possible.
You see, a lot of people listening to you, Douglas, would say you just need to let your hair down and, you know, just surrender to the
Perfectly
concept.
capable of letting my hair down. It's letting my brain out that I don't want to get involved in, and that's what so many musical festival goers seem to me to do. I was at the Hay Festival the other week, and alas, I report that it's become like this as well.
This is a literary festival.
It's a literary festival, and now it's got lots of more music going on around the edges, and the same thing. People who sort of escape London, they put on their wellies, take their brains out, and don't wash for a week.